Hello everyone, welcome back to the Elemental Goat Forge. Today we're going to be making a bottle opener. My style is a little different than most of the styles you usually see. Most of the styles you usually see make a full circle, and I've been experimenting with something a little bit differently. It's got an opening on the side. Just trying to do something a little bit different than what you usually see. So the steel we're going to be using today is just a piece of welding steel. It's 3/16 thick by 1 inch wide. It was the thickest piece of steel that wasn't too wide that I could find locally. A thicker piece of steel works better for this project. It holds up a little better with use. But you could get away with something thinner or thicker than what I'm using. Before we get started today, I want to talk about some of my tools that I use. This is my punch and chisel set. It's got center punches, which you use first to mark the center and make sure you've got your hole lined up well. And then once you've got your hole punched a little bit, you use the tapers to widen it out to whichever length you want. And then it's also got some pin punches for smaller straight holes. It's got some chisels as well. I picked up an extra 3/4 inch, 7/8 inch chisel. And lastly, we've got a bolster. This is going to sit flat on your anvil with the hole over the hardy hole. And what it lets you do is when you're punching a hole, or when you're using the taper, you can put it through there, and it helps support the sides of the hole so your piece doesn't deform as much. I made this one out of just a plain railroad spike that I flattened the head and then made sure it laid flat on my anvil. I've marked off about 3.5 inches here, and I'm just going to cut it off with the angle grinder. So working cold, we're going to use the center punch to punch a hole in the front and back. The back one for the cord and the front for the bottle opener. You can do this cold, especially on mild steel like this, because you're just trying to make your center mark. So you just keep going back and forth from one side to the other. There we go, until you finally punch that little plug out. And now we'll finish up the other side. Now that I've got my hole punched, I set up my bolster. Make sure you have some water nearby so you can quench your punches in between each punch. And you just keep going up in tapers until you get to the size that you want. It's always a little tricky getting them off here. You want to try and do it before they cool off too much. And I think that's good enough for the back half. Flatten it out a little bit, and then we'll start on the front half. So you get it most of the way through on one side, and then punch the plug out from the other side. That's that little piece that comes out. It's called a plug. The advantage to punching a hole versus drilling a hole is that when you punch a hole, you only lose about 20% of your material. When you drill a hole, you lose all of the material that was in that hole. So you retain a lot more strength when you punch it. It helps me a lot. I take the time while I'm waiting for my metals to heat up to make sure all my tools are back in the same spot before I get it out of the fire. Because anything you can do to save yourself time while the metal's hot is better. It's wiggling. There we go. There we go. It's all the way through. Just flattening everything back up, squaring it all up. This next part is one of the trickier parts. You've got to get these angles right, or it just will not work. There's nothing more frustrating than getting done with a piece of work and realizing that all that time is wasted. What I've found to work for me is to go with the steepest angle that you can for the first cut from the top, and then for the second one you do a parallel cut from the bottom part. And now hopefully we can just break that little bit off with my channel pliers. Or needle nose channel locks. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of rasping to get that the right shape that I want. Just going to hot rasp these corners down. Just round them off a little bit. I just think it makes for a slightly nicer piece. So guys, this is my touch mark. In a minute I'm going to stamp it onto the bottle opener, and then we'll work on some detail on the front side. With something like this, you want to get it all done with one blow, quick as you get it real hot, and then here we go. So next, I'm going to add a couple details to it. I'm going to try something I haven't done before, but I think it looks kind of like a bird of prey or an eagle or something. So I'm going to try and place an eye up top here, and then I'll do a pattern that I hope will end up looking like feathers, and then that'll be it. Polish it up a little bit. We'll punch the eye with the center punch. Maybe the eye should have gone back here, but I'll know better next time. You don't need it very hot for this part, especially the first time. If you want to make your marks deeper, you might want to reheat it up. I'm just sanding this with some 60 grit. Not trying to get it super shiny, just trying to get a nice texture on there. And I'm hand sanding this because the designs aren't very deep. And if I were to use a power sander, I might do a little too much, and I'd end up erasing the designs I put in. So as you can see, I heated it up again, and now it's got just a little bit of color. If you just get it up to a couple hundred degrees, you'll see there's different colors. There's gold, purple, blue. This is called Johnson's Paste Wax. You can use beeswax, oil, but this, when you put it on when it's still slightly warm, it'll soak into the metal and it'll help keep it protected. Cooling it down with the paste wax is going to lock in those colors. Just wiping a little bit of the wax off. And there it is. I hope you can see it. This camera does not like to focus up close. So in this clip, I am explaining the last couple steps to do. Our dog Wesleyan, in her bid for attention, messed up the microphone, but that's okay. So I'm showing a small leather loop that I purchased from Amazon. I do a square knot on it, and just tie a little loop in it, left over right, right over left. Any knot will work fine. It doesn't have to have a lot of strength or anything. This is just so you can attach it to something. And then last but not least, of course I have to try it out and make sure it can open a bottle. And it does. First try. Works great. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and get out there and create something.